Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit that subscribe button if you're new so you don't miss any of our great football content this season. Okay, let's talk Dallas 40, New York Giants 37 in the early window has given us some gems. There were 5 lead changes in the fourth quarter. Dallas prevails. Russell Wilson played brilliantly. He had a terrible pick on an alley-oop ball in overtime. Dak had a huge run that set up the game-winning field goal. I think my takeaway in this was that until that terrible pick in overtime, I thought both quarterbacks played really, really well. And it did remind me a little bit of old Russ, where Russ was good moving, Russ was good on stuff underneath 12 yards and closer, and Russ was good deep. The problem is and Neighbors and Ware are both good deep receivers. The problem is if he doesn't have that and you ask him to dissect a defense with seam routes, that's not what he does. He can move around and he throws a really nice deep ball. Now, he had one terrible pick in OT, but it did look, Jackson Dart came in for a play or two, but it did look a little bit like the old Russell Wilson, did it not?
It did. And listen, I'm not trying to diminish what we witnessed. It was fun throughout the game. His pick had a little, I would say, reminiscent of like that Favre pick in a playoff game out of nowhere because he's playing a great game and all of a sudden the ball down the middle of the field. The Cowboys defense could just be horrendous. Like they could be really, really bad because it's not normal to throw go routes over and over. And you don't do that against any other team. And I think Olsen pointed this out. Like there is no disputing in his heyday, he was as good of a deep ball, go ball, airing it out quarterback as we've ever seen. I mean, definitely of his era, he's the best. I mean, you see Mahomes overthrow. I mean, he throws a beautiful go route, and it was fun to watch. I also think that there was a moment that got the Cowboys. They have this weapon. I mean, the kid didn't even play college football. He was a Notre Dame soccer player.
Oh, yeah, Brandon
Colin,
Aubrey.
You've been watching football longer than me. When have you ever seen people comfortable kicking 60-plus yard field goals? I mean, this is unheard of. I mean, that would have been good from 70 yards. But the Giants, part of zone defense is you go to spots, right?
Yeah.
There's a point in time in football where it's like you can't just drop to your landmark when the game is on the line and Ferguson's running right down the field. Move over a couple yards and cover him. They just gave Dak Prescott and Ferguson like a 20-yard gain, and it put Brand. And it's like that's low-level football. And that play won't be talked about, but you should never allow them. And even Olsen's like, why are they playing so far off? You're just giving them they got good skill players. I mean, the Giants should have. I can't even imagine if you're Brian Daboll, like if I can't win this game, what game am I going to win?
Yeah, and I've defended Brian Daboll, but there were 26 penalties in this game. I thought the Giants multiple times had this game won. I will say this. I was harsh. Maybe I'm too harsh sometimes, but Brian Schottenheimer had not interviewed for a head coaching job in 14 years. And the people in the league that I talk to, he's an old school offensive coach. Now he's an offensive coach, but he's very old school. He's not innovative and creative. He's not like a lot of these guys that Liam Cohen's or McVay or a Kevin O'Connell. But I will say he is a walk-around coach where he lets his assistants coach. Now maybe that bites him later. But I got to tell you, when I watched Dak, Dak is comfortable. George Pickett is made an immediate impact. They're getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb. I think their offensive line's playing pretty well.
It definitely is.
Yeah, their secondary is not great. I mean, it's just their defensive personnel isn't great. But their offensive personnel is okay, and they look fairly well coached. I always judge this. Are you getting the ball to the right people? They are. They're getting the ball to the right players. And, I'll say this for Dak. I mean, I think his number's 33 of 45, 293 yards. I think, sometimes you have these surgeries and you're never the same. And sometimes you have them, they clean stuff up. I think Dak's got some juice. I think he looks really alive and really active. And even though they're only 1-1 and could be 0-2, they went straight up against Philadelphia, played them as close or better than Kansas City, and they won a game they could have lost, all those lead changes. I think Dallas, even though they're just 1-1, is one of the surprises of the league so far. They look very competent.
I'll say this. George Pickens, for the majority of playoff teams, I don't think they would mess with. Like, I can't see Sean McVay dealing with them. I can't see Sean McDermott dealing with them because there'll be plays that are there to be made, and he just kind of like, whatever, kind of puts his hands up. But then he also makes really good plays once the ball is in his hands. And listen, when you are the Cowboys coach, you don't pick the players. You have nothing to do with the roster. You just coach the team.
Right.
And they are force feeding him the ball, and he has added an element to their team that, let's face it, they didn't have last year because they didn't have a number 2 wide receiver. So to go along with CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson's a good player. Javonte Williams, he was a hyped guy coming out of college, had that bad knee injury. He's playing,
Yes.
he just gives them, they did not have a running back last year. They had no running back. So you get him, like you said, if you told me Brian Schottenheimer took over the Bears, he would be done from the beginning, like most guys probably. But some of these, Dak is a professional quarterback.
Yes,
and if he's going to be healthy, that is, it's a pretty good landing spot. Now defensively, how many games are you going to win? 43-40 or whatever the hell the final
They don't
score
have a
was.
lot.
No.
And by the way,
they're going to lose a lot of games because they can't stop a soul. But offensively, which is his side of the ball, they have been really good through 2 games. Really good.
Yeah, and again, it's it's hard to predict who's going to work. Half of these coordinators don't work at all. Liam Cohen today with Jacksonville, Jesus, he's barking at Trevor Lawrence. Brian Thomas doesn't want to. He's shying away from contract. That thing could unravel. It's Jacksonville. It could unravel by next week. Zach Taylor can't win in September. Burrow's hurt again. There's a lot of offensive coaches. We don't know how good they are. So, and a lot of, it's just very hard in this league to know. We knew Andy Reid was going to succeed when he went to Kansas City. We knew Harbaugh was going to succeed with the Chargers. Dan Quinn felt like, he knows what he's doing with Cliff Kingsbury. But with Brian Schottenheimer, I've got to be fair about this, is I didn't think it was going to work. I thought he was over his head. But, here's the other thing. Dak was good with Jason Garrett. He was good with Mike McCarthy. And Dak is good with Brian Schottenheimer. Dak's pretty good.
Yeah, he is. I just think, we just have to embrace, he is what he's the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th guy. He's never going to be a top 5 quarterback. And if you get him the personnel, a running game, the offensive line, here's where I'll give Jerry / his personnel people credit. Look at the Bears. Rome had a good game, and I'd say relative to where he's been drafted, pretty underwhelming, right? Relative to, I think people were hoping he'd be a superstar, and we'll see. But, if you could do that over, they would have taken offensive linemen if you were the Bears, taking a tackle, the kid from Penn State, right? If they could do it, that's who you would take. Jerry, they are valuing, they traded Micah Parsons, but they drafted him high. They draft pass rushers, defensive linemen, offensive linemen. They do have the right philosophical belief on how to build a team.
And John, remember when the Lakers traded Shaq? They were going to lose that trade the first 2 years because Shaq went to Miami. But it was the right decision. Shaq fell apart physically, didn't practice as hard. So you just had to eat a dirt sandwich for a year, knowing you'd get crushed if you were the Lakers because you traded the much more likable and popular Shaq, who went to an excellent organization and won a title. But over a course of the next 8 years, Kobe, who was obsessed with practice and games, was the better move. When you traded Micah to Green Bay, you are going to lose for a year. You're going to lose that trade.
Yeah.
But next draft, Dallas could turn those 2-1s because Dak's playing at a high level. They don't need a quarterback. If they end up with an 11th pick, somebody's moving up for a quarterback. Totally. And they could get another 2, another 3, another 4. Dallas may be able to, and next year's draft is considered above average. Dallas could restock its entire roster next year. So, yeah, you're going to lose because Micah's playing for the Packers. And it's a team that just needed Micah. They just needed a playmaker. And so you're going to be reminded every Sunday or Monday, God, what were we doing? Wait till April, and Dallas is going to look really smart.
The timing for Jerry should have done it before the draft. But obviously, once he did it, he didn't want to trade him to the Packers. Did you read the story? He tried to trade him to the Jets. And they're like, yeah, we just want the money or whatever. So at least Jerry knew. And Philly gave him the best offer, but obviously you can't trade him to Philly.
Right.
But Green Bay, were you a little surprised that they were really the only team willing? Because obviously not shocked at all Howie and Jeffrey Lurie were willing, but none of the AFC teams, and I understand cap-wise it'd be a little, but if you're Buffalo, I mean, imagine if Buffalo had done that.
Well, in Green Bay, because if you really look at what Green Bay is, They have their quarterback. They have their weapons. They have their interior linemen. They have their tight ends. They have their coach. They have their star back. They're one of those teams that can give away first round picks the next 2 years. They really can. I mean, what they can't guarantee is that Micah would be available because they're going to draft deep at the end of the first round. So Green Bay's like, we can get a guy that would be a lottery pick player. We never get into the lottery pick. We give up a 1. So I think it makes a ton of sense for Green Bay. Dallas needs players. I mean, their defense, I mean, you could go into next year's draft, which is a good quarterback draft. If Dallas' first 6 picks were defense, you'd be like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could see them doing that. They maybe a running back some point in the first 5 picks, but I think it works for both teams. It's just going to look bad for Dallas until April.
Well, and one thing, watching the Chiefs today, who obviously are going to be good on defense and have excellent team speed, Jalen couldn't just run around today. And if you're the Packers, like, who are the top couple teams you need to beat? Well, it's obviously the Eagles. And remember that playoff game against against Philly for Green Bay. Jalen made some big-time plays with his legs. Now you're watching, their whole defense feels faster with Micah around. And obviously Micah's speed is, pretty elite for an edge rusher. And he does feel, it's pretty rare in football, like Buffalo. Are they truly a player away? I feel like on defense they need a couple players. Like Green Bay looking at it, and they kind of feel like they were a player away, truly.
Well,
now, I'm not saying the Bills can't win the Super Bowl, but I don't know if they were a player away, so maybe that's how they justified not making the trade.
Green Bay didn't want to trade Kenny Clark, but the truth is they did, and they're fine.
Yeah.
They just draft well. You go to the last 30 years, they draft well. When's the last time they missed on a wide receiver or a tight end? They just don't. Yeah, so